Yeah, okay, I thought, the impressions of the game were about the same as were right afterwards, that there's some moments we played pretty well, and then there's some other moments that we didn't play well. Offensively, I think we were pretty efficient, but, we had a couple big mistakes, or a couple of things that execution-wise that we should have been able to do. You got to give them some credit. And defensively, the same thing. We didn't do a good job getting off blocks, and we blew a couple of coverages, which was uncharacteristic for us. And they allowed them to control the ball a little bit and limit our possession. So we've got to get a lot better defensively. We did do a nice job in the red zone and kept them to a couple field goals, and at the end of the game got some stops. So we got to play a whole lot better against a really explosive Cal team, particularly offensively this weekend.
What do you remember as some of the challenges in stopping Goff last year that we had?
Well, he was a young guy. He's a freshman, but he's got a big arm. He's got an NFL arm. He's a big guy, sees the field well. He's a tough competitor. And he looks like, to me, he's even bigger and stronger now. I think he hit the offseason, fixed his shoulder up and all that. So he's throwing the ball just in what I've seen even better than he did last year. And he was good last year. And he's got really good skilled players. He's got all his running backs, receivers back. So he's a talented guy. And they, against a pretty good Northwestern team up there, they moved the ball pretty efficiently.
What was most impressive about their wide receiver, Kenny Lawler, when you faced him last year?
Well, with all besides one hand backwards catches and all that kind of stuff they were doing, you talk about catches that, I've never seen before. They were phenomenal. And I think it's pretty routine from what I understand that for him. Got big old hands. And, Coach Mihalchik on my staff knows some of their guys, so he helped recruit some of them. So we know a little bit about their personnel. They're very, very talented, and they're running a system, I think it fits those guys' skill set. So it doesn't surprise me that they're 2-0, and coming off a bye week with an extra week to get ready for us, it's going to be a big test.
Solomon used the word horrible to describe his game sentiment. Is that a little bit too much?
Yeah, I think he's harder on himself than we could probably ever be. And, he's a really, really competitive guy. He's kind of a quiet competitor. Like, he doesn't, say a whole lot. But, the good thing about his growth and his maturation is that when we do correct him or do point out a mistake, he knows it already. And as I told him before, I said, in our quarterback, in our system, you never really have a play off mentally. You always got to be on. And, sometimes that's hard, particularly when you're a young player. But he's handled that part extremely well. That's why he's going to keep getting better. And we got other quarterbacks too that are, I think, pretty good. But Anu's, for a redshirt freshman, I think he's acquitted himself pretty well, and the competition will obviously continue to grow when we get into Pac-12.
As a play caller, how easy or maybe how hard have you found it to manage a game with a freshman, or does that even play into it when you?
No, it really hadn't, but normally it would. Normally, with a younger guy, you're going to, okay, let's ease some of the stuff in there. And I think, in a lot of ways, it's probably helped us be more efficient by being simpler in some respects. But it wasn't so for him, because we knew we were going to be young at running back and maybe even some youth at wide receiver, what have you. But Anu's been able to handle everything mentally as much or even more than we can put on him. So we can, as the season goes along, we'll continue to grow our package because he can handle it, and I think the guys up front can handle it as well.
A couple weeks ago, you said Tremaine was doing all the things he needed to do to get back in. Is he still on track?
Yeah, he'll probably play more. He played more or less pass game and all special teams, and going forward, particularly when you're playing spread teams and either when you elevate, we'll play more DBs and less bigger guys, I guess you could say. So, and he's worked hard in practice. Tremaine's worked hard in practice to get back into the fold.
Is he in practice? Does he look like he did last year? Is he effective and fast and explosive?
Yeah, a little bit. Again, we're not going a lot of good on good. It's going against scout team most of practice, but biggest thing, he had to get work and get in shape, as a couple other guys did, and he's doing a good job of that. He's been, doing the stuff we asked him to do.
You mentioned the lack of the lapses in pass coverage. Is that maybe the most concerning thing outside of not being able to get a lot of rush on the quarterback defensively?
Yeah, we're not. Sometimes you're not going to get a lot of pressure with three-man fronts, and that's understandable. You can still push the pocket a little bit, but even when we're sending blitzes, if you're sending blitzes, you better get home in a hurry. Those guys on the back end are going to be hanging on, and we're not getting home enough with that. And again, one or two of the coverage things were just, eyes in the wrong spot, or you got man coverage and you're peeking back too soon at the quarterback when the ball is getting thrown. So it's not easy, but, we can get better. And I said, we've been okay. It's not been, bad all the time, but this will be a bigger test. I mean, this is the best throwing team, that we've played, certainly about, to this date. So we better be really sharp.
Do you coach your defensive players to try to create turnovers, or does it just come with good defense?
It's a little bit of both, really. I think when we do some turnover things, and I mentioned that to the guys the other day, we have really done a great job in creating turnovers. I don't think we've recovered a fumble yet. We've had 2 interceptions in 3 games, so 2 turnovers. And sometimes it's just luck. You're lucky they throw it to you or drop the ball on the ground, but sometimes it's what you're doing defensively too. Are you attacking the ball? Are you sitting back waiting for the ball? Are you disguising things? Are you moving things to create confusion? And so all that plays a part of it. I really believe that you can help create turnovers by doing some things defensively, either by how you attack the ball or by how you move and disguise, your coverages and fronts. And so we've got to be able to do that, because 2 turnovers in 3 games, no fumbles caused. We can't win games going forward with those kind of numbers.
How critical is it going to be in Pac-12 play to start creating?
Yeah, we won't win. In the saving grace for us is that we've taken, other than the one, I think it was the first turnover we had the last game with the 1 interception. So, if we don't have any negative yards plays, any turnovers on offense, we'll be in every game. But we still got to try to create some on defense, that's for sure.
Is that one of Tremaine's biggest strengths, that he can create some turnovers?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, but it's usually a collective effort. A lot of times when a guy gets a pick, it's because a quarterback was under pressure, or somebody did something, maybe tipped the ball up front. Or a lot of times when a guy recovers a fumble, it's because somebody up front got off a block and put his hat on the ball or something like that. So it's usually a collective effort defensively.
When you review the games, what can you tell about Nick Wilson's vision and how he sets up blocks and finds his way?
Well, he's been doing what he's coached. He's done, it's probably the thing he's done the best is taking Coach McGee's coaching of the system and the understanding of where to press the blocks and where the blocks are coming from and when he should cut back and how he should cut back and all those things. He's taken that to heart and really learned it really well as a freshman. He's what we call pressing the block. He's pressed the blocks as well as any freshman that I've had, as far as understanding that part and understanding protection. I mean, he's really good in pass protection, which is usually a harder thing for young guys to come by. So Calvin's done a great job teaching him. Nick is a smart football guy because he's picked it up pretty well. And I think the competition we have at running back is keeping everybody on their toes. So he's done well for a freshman, but we have other guys too.
Has it been tough to navigate here early with the amount of injuries you guys have had, just different guys missing?
Yeah, particularly nose guard and on defense. And we haven't been able to stay healthy, and it's only been a couple weeks, so that's concerning. Because we're not particularly deep. No, I don't think anybody's really deep on D-line. They like to say they are. Maybe a few teams are, but we're not. But that's going to happen, and we knew that coming into it. Eventually, we'll get to the point, hopefully in the next year or two, where we're too deep, at least comfortable too deep at every position. We're not there right now.
Are you hoping to have Worthy this week?
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I don't know what, we're not doing anything today, but we'll see how he is tomorrow.
Rich, how do you feel about Fabian's play? It seems at times he's dominating and at times he gets beat by.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, he didn't have his best games this past weekend. He can play better than he did Saturday.
Were those 3 downfield penalties kind of on you holding the ball too long, or was it?
Both. One, it was I think two of them. There was we were late, and then one of them was just a brain cramp on one of the guys who just took off. I think he maybe went back to his old glory days in Pop Warner and he was a tight end or something. Maybe before Pop Warner, maybe youth league flag football or something. So yeah, both.
Was Samaje able to do anything yesterday? Is he okay?
Yeah, it seemed fine to me, but his personality, I don't know if he might be a little goofy all the time. I don't know. Well, hopefully with him. He's good football. He's one of our better football players.
He's turned into one of your go-to guys. Can you talk about that? You get a lot of balls thrown.
Well, he plays every position, you know, like Nate and Caleb and Austin and David, those guys can rotate. And Samaji he's good outside, and he's particularly good in the slot, we think. He can play running back too, and he's taking some reps there. He's just a tough, competitive football player.
And can you talk, he's got a lot of stop and start in him. He can stop at a dime and kind of
Yeah.
rev up. Can you talk about his that?
Well, it helps when you have shorter legs. You don't have to get started. It doesn't take you as long to get them feet moving. But no, he's got natural quickness. And the other thing, he's again like Nate and some of those other guys, Austin. They have his good football sense about him. You know where people are at and adjusting his body. And we hope to keep. You know, we get Devontae's healthier, and then as Tyrell Johnson continues to grow in the system, and Jonathan Hayden. We should have those guys can stay healthy. We can have a steady rotation of 7, 8 guys that we feel good to put in the game and wide receiver.
Rich, I know early you weren't real happy with the blocking on the punt returns. Has that improved, and how do you feel about that aspect?
Punt return we've only had a couple opportunities, and sometimes that's hard anyway because, the nature of the kick. The kick return has just been awful. I mean, it's been as bad a kick return in college football history. I mean, it's just been kick the ball in the end zone and let's take the ball on 25 and we'll high five each other. And we worked hard on it, and we're going to continue to work on it. But I'm wondering if teams will even kick it in the end zone. They might just try to kick it to like the 10 and pin us inside the 15. So we got to get better at that because we got guys that can return, and that's the one thing I do think we have a couple guys that will hit it and could be really good return guys. We just not. It could be a combination, probably is a combination of what we're doing and who we're doing it with. I don't know, it's got to get fixed.
In your early impression of Cam Denson, where does he most need to improve?
Like most freshmen, he's just got to get bigger and stronger. I mean, he's still learning too. I think it's, the true freshman, there's so much, it's a whole lot different playing in this level than it is obviously in high school. But Cam is so competitive that I think I've seen him get better every week, and he's going to get stronger, and he's going to get bigger and get better technique-wise with Coach Lockwood and all that. So he's going to be, what we thought when we signed him, he's going to be a really good player, and so I still think that and then some. Because his role will continue to increase, and in games like this where you're playing somebody that's going to throw the ball a lot, Cam's got to be ready to go.
You said before, no team that Pac-12 is standing still or getting worse, they're all getting better. When you watch Cal on film, where maybe their improvement showing up the most?
Well, defensively, they had a couple of their key guys that were out last year with injury. Not just starters, but key starters. They're back. And then offensively, they're all back pretty much the same cast of crew that threw the ball well against about everybody last year. So it's a second-year system. I think they understand it. They got a new defense, but they got their defensive guys back, and they're playing with confidence. The big win over Northwestern, that thing, they jumped on pretty big on the road. And then the last game wasn't even a contest, but then they've had an open week, 2 weeks to get ready for. So I'm sure they're pointing to this as a key game in their season, but it's a key game in our season too.
When you say they have a new defense, what do you see when you look at it on video that's different?
Well, it's a different scheme, not completely different, some of the same things they did last year, but it's a total new coordinator. And so, we'll watch last year's film and look at that personnel standpoint, but really what they're doing scheme-wise defensively is different with a different coordinator.
Last year, were you spoiled with guys like Scooby and Samaji and Nate, or this year is it a little longer that not more true freshmen other than Nick are really making a big impact?
Well, it's twofold. One, I think this recruiting class is just as good and not better. The difference is last year those guys had to play. That's all we had. This year they don't have to. Plus, I would like to think the guys that played last year, like Scooby and Nate and Samaji and all them, have gotten better. The key is in this level, like any other level, it's not just who you bring in, but are the guys bringing in getting better every year? It's like having your returning starters. That returning starter wasn't any good last year. Ain't gonna happen to your team. If he's better than he was a year ago, then you'll be better than you were a year ago. And that's what I'm really proud of all of our classes, but particularly Scooby and us as freshman class last year, because I think to a man, every one of them are better. I knew Solomon didn't play, but he's a whole lot better now than he was a year ago. Scooby's a whole lot better now. And he was a good player last year, but he's better now than he was a year ago. And that's going to be the key to our program going forward. We want to get really good recruits, and I think we are. But the key is our development of them throughout their 4 or 5 years here on campus is going to be the difference to us winning championships or not. And, you know, we've made a big commitment to that with our facility. But more than anything, we've got a commitment for that, I think, from our players.
Were you hoping to get more out of your junior college guys this year, other than just more of these performing?
Yeah, and I think we will as times go on, but it's almost like the junior college guys are coming in, even though they're probably a little bit older, they're still, from a mental standpoint, learning the system like a true freshman. And so I like the guys we got, but I think the only thing that's holding them back is probably more just learning the system. And we try to be really simple at times, but it's still adjustment from that standpoint.
Are you keying on as you call it, a scary pass rushing guy as you go out recruiting?
I like to, you know, gosh, I think everybody probably wants one and needs one. I don't know if you can win championships without, one, having really good quarterback play, maybe not great, really good quarterback play, and the ability to cover guys on defense and rush the quarterback. And I think it's true in football at the high, on the NFL and college level. You got to be able to rush the quarterback, cover people, and you got to have a quarterback that can make plays.
They're good defensive linemen, the hardest recruits to find.
Yeah, the find the majority, the number of them. I mean, you can find one or two, but everybody wants those big guys that can get off blocks and stop run plays and rush the quarterback. I mean, at all levels, and that's when you see one of those, everybody knows about it. Unfortunately, you know, there are not too many secrets. So if you can't get one that's ready right now, then you got to get one you can develop, hopefully, or find someone that grows into that role. And we've got some that maybe have a chance, but we've certainly going to try to address that, or are addressing that in recruiting.
What was Turry able to do on Saturday that enabled him to be effective?
Well, he was one guy. Turry is a guy that can bench the building, you know, so he's a strong guy, and he's got a good motor. And, you know, him and Scooby are maybe our two best pass rusher guys. You know, they're also playing linebacker. And with our scheme, the one thing I do like about what we can do is we can bring any multitude of linebackers or safeties or something to add on to the rush and give a different look. But Turry is a 250-pound, you know, meathead, I shouldn't call him a meathead, musclehead, that can do some good things in the pass rush.
Any more questions for Coach? All right.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.